How's it going, everybody? And welcome to the BCS 24-25 World Finals here live at the Tokyo Ryutsu Center. I'm Randall, aka Shizukats.
And I'm Ian.
And we are excited to bring you all of the exciting Weiss Schwarz action today. So we do have a lot to do today and so little time. So Ian, why don't you go ahead and fill us in on how our format is going to be looking like today for the players?
Yes. So we have a total of 60 players. So that means 6 rounds of Swiss. We follow that up with the Spring Conference, in which we will be having some new reveals.
Yeah, and potentially maybe a restriction list update as well, since we might be expecting that one coming up soon.
And then after that, the top 8, of course. So why don't you let us know about the prizes that we are fighting for right now?
So obviously, all of these players are competing for that glory of just being the world champion of the year, but the material prizes for top 8 and top 4, we do have the special stamped version of the Level 0 Fern Brainstorm from Freer and Beyond Journey's End. And then for the winner, we have the stamped version of the 3-1 event, Magic for Making a Field of Flowers. And so that is a pretty prominent card in a lot of Freer decks, very powerful ability, and as well as the art, very beautiful as well. So I'm sure a lot of players are very excited to try to add that to their collection.
Yeah, the foil promos are always so beautiful, so I really would have liked having one, but this time around we'll be casting. Also, a really cool thing about this one is that the participation prizes were also very good for World Championship.
Yeah, we have that same Fern-themed like supply set coming with things like a storage box, deck box, sleeves, things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure all the players, even if they don't come victorious today, they are still excited to have that as a prize that they can take home.
Yeah, and also one really cool small detail is they have this player tag that's actually a Shioko card. So you can actually play the Shioko card with your name on it.
Was it just like
in your real deck.
It was just like a level 0 vanilla, right?
Yeah, it's just a level 0 blue Shioko card that you can play.
Awesome.
It's really cool.
Okay, so we do have our first game on deck already. Let's just really briefly talk about what we're going to be looking at today before we get in. We do have a quintessential quintuplets Nino build, 8 standby, going up against Rascal Does Not Dream series on the popular and anticipated to be the most played deck in the room, 8 comeback build.
Yes.
So that should be a pretty fun matchup to watch. But as I said earlier, we do have quite a lot to do today and so little time. So we're going to see if we can get into our game right now.
Or that's the only champion title.
Okay, there's
Okay, so our players are already at the table. We have Ryoshin here from the US versus Ran from Australia. And we did have a little bit of a false start here, so we are one turn into the game already. We saw a level 0 vanilla.
Yep.
Also, it should be Ryoshin on last. Apologies. We have Ryoshin here opening here with a level 0 vanilla, one of the most prominent cards of the Rascal deck, despite being a card with no abilities. Over here on the side of Ran, we have the level 0 Nino that clocks a card from hand to shift the deck for another Nino. Going to be grabbing this level 0 in the center slot that played to send that 1-1 Nino from the deck straight to the wing. Just a full offensive here with 3 attackers. It is their turn, and we believe that level 0
How much of the field can they see?
Top the opponent's of the character if they only have one.
How much of the field can they see?
After
Just
the game.
Okay.
And that level 0 Nino sending the 1-1 to the waiting room corner already gets some value as the standby is laid completely out on the waiting room.
One important thing about
Step on. Thank you.
they really need a memory card. They can also
You can play it on the level 1 turn, as you can send yourself a memory upon being pushed or at the end of your turn attack. So if you have a setup that level 0 plus 2 copies of your Primus combo, you can attack it with we are going to see that level 0 here, so as we were mentioning, the on-play effect, K1, block the top of the deck, since the deck is level 1 to the character, a fantastic profile that is seen in many, many decks that allow you to very seamlessly set up.
Very those three characters, and
which is especially going to be important since Brand here is opening with 3 triggers on his board. And also triggering a standby on the 3 attacks now, trying to bring out an extra level 0 attacker. So that particular level 0 has the effect that you can pay 1 and sacrifice itself to look at up to 5 cards from the top of your deck and grab a Nino from among them. This could be a really great tool in the following turn to not only add extra options to hand, maybe go through the deck, get extra standby targets into the waiting room to bring out with those standby triggers, and also just pay out the standby that was used to bring it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Only 2 attackers here on the side of Ryoshin.
Yeah, so not doing the 3 attacks like I mentioned, but still managing to contest 2 lanes at least, and getting the level 0 Mai in memory.
Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting that we are choosing to send the Mai to memory at the end of the attack. I assume here that the reasoning behind that would be to deny the opponent a potential reverse target for their level 1 Nino combo. Since Bran is pretty close to level 1, probably going to clock himself here and go up. Removing that Mai from the board removes a potential reverse target that could allow Bran to get additional advantage off of the on-reverse salvage a character from waiting room.
Exactly. And as we say that, we do head into level 1 right now, where we might or might not see the level 1 combo see play here.
Okay, and I believe we are seeing here in the hand drawn by Bran is a copy of the level 2 climax. This one from set 2, when placed, allows you to bring out the 2-2, the one that gets really big on your turn, and then you can sacrifice the climax in order to stand that character. So it's not really an advantage combo, it's more of a tempo swing, allowing you to get that 2-2 live as soon as possible. Very interesting one-of we do see from players every now and then.
Yeah, and it's also like, it's just a very annoying body to face. Like, it's 7k every turn, you get to encore it. On the combo turn, it's an 8k, right?
Mm-hmm. On the combo turn, yeah, it goes up by 1,000 until the end of the opponent's next turn when you bring it out via the combo.
Yeah, and it's a 2-soul beater, which is very important for standby decks usually, as they tend to struggle a little bit with pushing damage.
Yeah.
And we do see it getting played out.
So not going for the combo here, it would be pretty low value as there's only 1 reverse target, so we're just going to get that tempo. It essentially allows you just to convert 1 card in your hand into 1 card on the board.
And also the 1-1 Nino. I wonder if Ryoshin has anything to contest that at all.
Yeah, typically in these builds there are no costed front row characters until level 2, which would be this level 2 Mai that sends itself to memory to grab either the level 3 combo or the level 1 combo from your deck and add it to your hand.
Yeah, but generally you want to use it to fuel your memory a little bit, right?
Right. So this is something that we haven't really touched on yet, but we do see 1 card in memory here for the Rascal player. Rascal, as a deck, the most popular build that we are seeing right now, is a deck that wants to get a bunch of cards into memory in order to power up its late game finisher. That late game finisher has a weaker version of its effect if you have 3 or less unique names in memory, and a stronger version if you have 4 or more.
Yeah,
so
that's a very explosive combo.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be seeing a lot of memory going for Ryoshin here so that he can unlock the full potential of his combo. And you see a standby here going to be bringing out another copy of the 2-2 Nino.
Yes, it does seem like it.
And a big swing going in here to bring Ryoshin to 1-5. Not level 2 yet, thankfully, and will also have the ability to clock if he so desires and still be at level 1. And then maybe use his climax combo level 1 Mais to get through the rest of the deck.
Yeah, ending on 1-6 in your first deck would be pretty much ideal. So we see him counting his cards, making sure that he will be able to reach that. And the level 1 combo is actually very good with going through deck sizes like these, right? He already has the Mai in memory, so he will be able to check 3 with the climax combo, I think.
So the climax combo is not actually dependent on the memory.
Yeah.
The climax combo will always just allow you to look at up to 3 cards as long as you have the prerequisite number of other traded characters on stage. The memory just affects gaining 3k power on the swing and then also allowing for the double trigger. And we're going to see a Brainstorm hit 3 here. Going to have a pick of the lot, and then this is going to be great to follow up with that level 1 combo now that we've gotten all those climaxes out of the way. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we've gotten all those climaxes out of the way, we can just go straight through the rest of the deck with those climax combos.
Yeah, and the double trigger effect won't be as much of a, how do you call it, liability. Because sometimes you get to trigger your climax on the first one.
Mm-hmm.
It generally won't be much of a liability, right? Because it pays one of the stock out automatically.
Yeah, so you trigger twice, and then the second trigger will fall back into the waiting room afterwards. This allows you to trigger more door climaxes or comeback climaxes in order to feel your hand size, while also allowing you to proc abilities that activate when you trigger climaxes, such as the level 1 Kaede Brainstorm or a level 2 assist that we may see later. Both of those have abilities that trigger upon triggering a climax and allow you to manipulate not only your deck but your opponent's deck, which can be quite strong.
Yes. So going into your refresh, do you think you would try to fish for another climax to keep with the level 1 combo, or would you try to go for an 8 climax refresh?
I think potentially it could go either way. I feel like it's more of a playstyle thing.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about the level 1 Mai is that in future deck rotations, the double trigger, like you said, can become a bit of a liability due to its potential to trigger more climaxes. Mm-hmm. It's great if you're out a lot of climaxes and you just want to speed through the deck, but if you want to maintain a deck full of a lot of climaxes, it can potentially hurt your deck state.
Yeah, and we see that with even with only 2 combos, he manages to go through his entire deck.
Mm-hmm. With each Mai having the ability to go through up to 5 cards. And thanks to the added power from that Climax combo bringing out the 2-2, it will be at 8k, which is too strong for the level 1 Mai to scale over. She's only attacking for 7,500 power, so going to retain that body on board. Even though that card, having really high offensive power, has relatively lower defensive power.
Yeah, the Brainstorm does tend to help a little bit, I think, with scaling over 8k.
Mm-hmm.
But with how many climaxes were already milled through the Brainstorm, it was pretty unlikely to find a climax to trigger there.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like Bran here, considering that the board was for the most part maintained, going to be doing just a little bit of hand fixing here with this level 0 Nino. So this card is a very, very powerful double hand fix option with the ability to discard a card to reveal the top card of your deck and salvage a character of equal or lower level than the revealed card, but also can discard a Nino to draw a card. So great way to get potential standby targets into the waiting room or just get unneeded cards out of the hand, like I believe we saw a Climax being discarded just now.
Also for drawing another standby, it's great. These kinds of profiles are always almost always 4-offs in every standby deck because of the huge amount of utility that it has.
Mm-hmm. That being said, do we have 4 copies in here? I feel like space is pretty tight due to the introduction of some of the new very powerful level 0. So yeah, we are only seeing 3 copies of that level 0 Nino in this build. So with new profiles from the Quintessential Quintuplets Premium Booster, such as the level 0 that can send a Nino straight from deck to waiting room to ready your standbys, that is a very important card that is pretty much always seen as a 4 of in these decks.
I do wonder if he ended up paying out the Climax that he triggered in the end.
It doesn't look like it. He just moved up that 2-2 and then just proceeded to attacks, I believe.
So it does seem like he's refreshing with less than optimal amount of climaxes there.
Yeah, the raw number of climaxes going back may not be optimal, but based on the pure amount of stock and clock compression that he is getting, it's probably going to be fine in the long run, I think.
Yeah. Ooh, and climaxing off the refresh.
Oh, 2 cancels.
Yeah, I think Ryoshin's compression is actually really good right now.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's either 7 or 8 climaxes back.
Yeah, well, we have a copy of the level 3 comeback trigger in the hand that was kept through the last refresh.
Yeah.
Drawing into a copy of the level 1 combo, considering that we just had a bunch of cancels, now would be a really great time to potentially draw another copy of that level 1 combo and try to use it to get through the deck again, just as we saw in that first deck rotation. And looks like 2 copies of the level 1 combo in hand, actually.
Yeah, but he does not have the correct climax yet, and he also does not have the climax searcher, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a little bit of a new profile, right? The Futabas searcher, where you pay 1 and search a climax instead of salvaging a climax.
Yeah, the ability to climax swap from the deck is something that I think probably only started appearing within the last 2 years or so. And that is the copy of the level 1 climax that was just drawn.
Oh, that's perfect.
Absolutely amazing draw here. So here we have, and now that these 2/2 Ninos are just normal power on defense, just that normal 7k power, the level 1 combos will be able to just scale over them the normal way.
Yeah, just by default already. No need to trigger any climaxes, even though the compression is really good to be able to trigger more climaxes here.
Mm-hmm. I think I might have misseen though. I think it might not have been a second copy of the level 1 combo. It might have been a copy of the level 3.
Yeah. That would be less great.
And then speaking of that Futaba climax search, I believe that's also a copy of it in hand if he didn't draw the correct climax.
Okay.
So what could we see here? We have a few options to try to go through. You could potentially send this level 0 Mai in the back row to memory to try to dig for another copy of the level 1 climax. Typically, I like to use this card to try to find the level 3 climax, but since we already have a copy of it in hand, that's not something that we... Oh, what a great brainstorm! Hit 1 and the level 1 Mai. Going to be able to use that as a second copy to contest this 2/2.
I do wonder how many of the level 1 climaxes he had cancelled with before.
I believe on the fresh deck, I believe the cancels were a level 3 climax, a level 3 climax, and a level 1 climax.
Oh, okay, so that's perfect.
So 1 was drawn, and then 1 was sent through this brainstorm.
But it doesn't really seem... Oh, okay, he's using that ability to check
Yeah.
cards?
So this level 0 says if you are at level 2 or higher, you can pay 1 and send it standing from stage to memory in order to top check 2 and add any card from among them to your hand. And like I was saying earlier, if you're at level 3 and you don't have your level 3 climax yet, this could be a pretty good card to help you dig an additional 2 cards to find it. But since we already have that climax, we can just use this to go through the deck a little bit. And really making use of these Sakuta level 1s. This is a card from the original Bunny Girl set, but seeing a lot of play in this new deck. Since you need a lot of stock to fuel these memory abilities, this is a fantastic card to include in your deck to gain additional stock, being able to send that vanilla that we saw in the very first turn from your waiting room to your stock and just accumulate a lot of resources.
Wait, so did he already have the correct climax? Okay, he did.
Yeah. This is the one that was drawn off the clock draw 2.
Oh, that's perfect. So now it seems like we're going to head into another new deck refresh.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure to bring the compression to the next deck as well.
Yeah, so the really nice thing about this particular level 1 combo with level 0 brainstorm line is that you don't have to go through a lot of cards in your deck necessarily in case you want to try to keep climaxes in your deck. If you don't end up triggering them, they will remain in your deck for you to cancel with. But if you do end up triggering them, you have the level 0 Kaede that can allow you to mill through remaining cards of your deck so that you're not left with just a bunch of clean cards at the end of your deck rotation. With this this Kaede brainstorms on, when you trigger a climax, you can look at the top card of your deck, leave it there, or send it to waiting room, and then give a character 1,000. Just a great way to make sure that you're always ending your turn with 1 card left in deck, regardless of whether or not you triggered your climaxes.
Yeah. And I believe Quince does not have a real good way to punish ending on 1 card in deck.
Mm-hmm.
So we will be heading into a clean compression every turn, as long as he gets to continue combo in here.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like Bran is already heading into level 3 right now.
It's just been taking lots of damage this game.
Yeah. But that's also part of playing a level 1 a 1k1 combo, right? Because it's like you push so much soul damage, and with my triggering twice, it pushes so much soul.
Well, the damage potential is theoretically higher, but one thing about the Bunny Girl deck is that it doesn't actually run a lot of soul triggers. Usually the level 3 line is very, very light, and then the level 2 line, you're typically running cards that go to memory, or the bouncer, or the 2-1 assist. cards that you actually might want in your hand for specific matchups. So a lot of the times you might be actually accumulating those soul triggers in your hand. They don't end up getting triggered too often.
Right. The good thing is that even if you trigger one of those one-offs that you might want to keep in hand, it sometimes just gets paid out directly with my combo.
With it taking the second trigger off the top, sending it to waiting room. So now that Bran is at level 3, we need to see what the game plan is here. We already have the level 3 climax in hand. That would allow the level 3 Nino from set 2 to do a burn 3. But we've got some serious catching up to do. We can't necessarily commit the level 3 combo to the board immediately unless you... Actually, no. I don't think it's too bad of an idea to commit the level 3, just because the 8500 defensive power is not super easy to get over with the tools that Bunny Girl has, unless you want to commit your level 2 Mai as an attacker rather than using it to go to memory and grab tools for your endgame.
Right.
Oh, 2 climaxes shown off of that Brainstorm top check 3.
Yeah, that's also not ideal for Bran.
It's kind of like the climaxes had to be somewhere situation,
Yep.
and unfortunately they were in those top 3 for the Brainstorm. Level 0 here going to be sending another Nino from the deck to the waiting room, and I see 2 climaxes remaining in the deck here for Bran.
2 climaxes left. It seems like Bran will want to work towards a new refresh. And it doesn't seem like he's committing any of the level 3 so far, nor I believe he still hasn't paid out the climax that was triggered like 2 turns ago.
So we will see that level 3 come out.
There's one of the level 3s.
And we're going to see a pay 2 salvage from the on death ability of the Nino that got played over to
that's
grab
what he uses to
another
pay out the
copy.
climax. That does make sense. He
So
might-
what do you think here of potentially moving the 3-2 Nino to the back row and swinging with that level 0 in order to potentially preserve...
No,
Are we
he's
going
committing
for a
more.
combo turn?
I think he's going for a combo turn, but maybe not committing to the combo itself. Just usually just playing the climax out and getting it back into his next deck. Yeah, it does seem like he's committing to a climax. He's also shuffling the standbys back in, but what do you even want to standby out at this point? Do you get... Is there an assist that pumps him up?
So we do see in this list, we still have the 3-2 Ichika that has been played previously in these 8 standby quintessential quintuplets deck. That could be a potential target to bring out.
There's so many cards left in deck though, so he won't be able to go to... Oh wait, but he does get to double check for triggers if he plays a standby?
It will allow the double check for one character, whichever one is given the effect when you bounce back that level 0 that was just played.
Yeah, but he could standby out one of the level 3 Nino assists, right?
So we're not running the level 3 Nino assist in this build, because we're running the 3-2 Ichika instead. Well, you do see the 3-2 Ichika here. So this is going to be boosting those Ninos to 10,500 defensively, which will make it significantly harder to scale over them if Ryoshun does stay at level 2 here.
I think even at level 3 it might be very hard to scale over. You need the level 3 finisher and a 1k one, and then you're like 500 over. If Bran manages to find any one copy of like an additional power pump on board, because I think he has one of the front row.
It's one copy of the 3-2 Nino, where if she's in the front row, all of your quintuplets characters gain 1,500 power. So that would bring them up to 12k, which would be out of range of the level 3 Mais. That being said, I think if Ryoshun does hit level 3 here, just because Bran is already at level 3 and is already, you can tell based on his play patterns, he's looking to try to not trigger the climaxes that are remaining in the deck, right? But if Ryoshun does hit level 3, those climaxes that were left in the deck are going to be turned against him with the level 3 Mai combo, being able to deal more damage the more climaxes your opponent sends from the bottom of their deck to waiting room. But we are seeing even more cancels here. So we might not even be going up to level 3 this turn anyway.
Even though we have shuffled back 2 of the level 3 Ninos, it doesn't seem like we're finding them for the triggers.
Bran is going for
He's
combo.
burning.
Nino having the climax combo at the end of her attack. If you have the climax in play, you can pay 1, discard a card, burn 3. And so this is going to potentially make it easier for Ryoshun to hit level 3 and potentially send his combo on the next turn.
It seems like the last trigger for Bran will not be finding the standby.
Have we seen copies of the level 3 Ninos that got shuffled back either?
I feel like we haven't seen any of them. That's kind of crazy.
So
he has like 3 cards left in deck. 2 of them would be the level 3 Nino.
I believe so. So the deck is probably just level 3 Ninos and Climaxes remaining.
Yeah, I guess so. That's a little bit unfortunate.
So it's literally the exact opposite of what Bran wanted. He wanted to see 3-2 Ninos and not see Climaxes. And okay, we do see a Climax there.
Card, so.
And I think there are still at least 3 cards remaining in the deck. So that would be the other standby that we haven't seen yet.
Yep.
And then the 2 copies of the Nino. Unless we missed one. I feel like you wouldn't go past one if you had the opportunity to grab one, though.
You definitely go for a trigger there. And I wonder if he does have the level 3 Nino in his graveyard to standby out.
So there's that 3-2 Nino that you
Okay.
mentioned, the front row 1500.
So now it will be very hard for Ryoshun to scale over that. It's like, how strong are they? 12k?
Yeah, 12k. Another cancel. Will we see the burn here? The burn here could potentially send Ryoshun to level 3.
Burning doesn't sound very beneficial for Bran, right? It's like but you do pay out the 1 Climax there, so maybe there is an argument for it. Getting it cancelled is good, though, I think.
I would say so. It came at that cost, though, of having significantly less stock to play with and potential cards in hand. So I do think that if Ryoshun does have the ability to play the 2-1 Mize that gain additional power based on the number of opposing characters, this is the one that you can send to memory to search for either of the Climax combos in the deck. It's still hitting Brainstorms, by the way. And we do see a copy of the 2-1 in the waiting room, but we're going back to the level 1. I think it definitely could have been an option to grab that copy of the 2-1 that was salvaged.
Yeah.
And then, in addition to, because there is a copy of it in his hand already, if he were to commit the 2 copies of the Mai to swing 12-5, because they gain 1500 per opposing character, they would swing 12-5 over these Ninos. It would clear them both from the board, assuming Bran doesn't have a Climax in hand.
He does use 1 to put it in his memory, just to make sure that his finisher is alive.
And then, additionally, if you went with that line, Bran would not be able to encore these Ninos either, because only 2 stock remaining. You wouldn't be able to 3 stock.
Did he just search his deck and not find any copies that he wanted to find?
Perhaps. Looks like the priority here is going to be on establishing the memory for the late game.
Yep.
Personally, I think that the 2-1 line potentially could have been the better way. Even if you aren't killing Bran this turn, it does remove the option to use those 3-2 Ninos on the next turn, just because you wouldn't have any way to get them back. And then also, this card is 2 soul base. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh wow, it also has 2 souls, so it pushes a lot of damage on level 3.
Yeah, even despite not having a Climax. Personally, I think here that if you were able to push a lot of damage with these copies of the 2-1 Mai, I think that it is personally lower priority than getting those 4 cards into memory, because you would still have a pretty decent finisher turn as a follow-up, even without having those 4 cards in memory for the full power finisher. But you would be able to push a lot of damage now with those 2-1 Mai, set them up for much harder to survive following turn.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, especially since Bran only has 2 stock left. So if you manage to contest both of the Ninos, it's going to be very hard to make some kind of comeback from 2-4.
Mm-hmm. And then also having those 2-1s to clear these 3-2s would also just leave bodies for you on the board to soak up potential damage, so that you don't randomly die out of nowhere just by taking a bunch of damage. Right?
Yeah, and now we did see one of the climaxes getting triggered already by Ryoshun.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a second climax trigger, there might be some window to come back for Bran, I think. But he ends up not attacking.
Yeah. I think this is probably good. It leaves potentially 2 extra climaxes in the deck. In the worst case scenario where you attack with this Mai, that double trigger effect is mandatory, and you would have to trigger twice, and potentially you could trigger 2 climaxes off of that.
Yeah, that does sound like a liability. Might have been better to keep the Mai on back row and put the Sakuta in front.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. The Sakuta not really doing too much, chilling back there.
And we do see another combo. Would it be possible to finish from here?
Definitely think it's possible. I believe there's only 3 climaxes left in the deck. No, sorry. There was what, 3 cancels already this deck rotation, I believe, from the previous turn? There's another one. And then we know there's 1 climax still in the hand, and then there's 1 climax that was triggered in stock.
And then we head into the refresh, and we might see a random kill there. This is only for 2. There's 20 gold doesn't really have relevant counters for these kind of situations, right?
Yeah, because of how much of the deck space is being allocated towards these memory cards and things like that, counters tend to not really make their way into these lists, especially with for some of the utility counters that you have the option to run, such as the like anti-overlevel counters. Those ones have fairly high costs that you don't really want to mess with because you... Oh my god, we have double lethal here.
Only had 1 climax left in the deck. That's why he didn't attack last turn. But it is lethal range right now. Do we see a comeback?
Oh! The last card cancel
we saw a comeback
Ryoshin.
from Ryoshin's deck, cancelling the damage.
I can see Ryoshin shaking a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, he's just like pooping them out onto the board. Triple Mai. So these cards have on play heal. Oh, I think they're in time trouble. I think he needs to go.
Yeah, it does sound like it.
So 4 cards in memory with unique names means that you get to mill the bottom 2 cards of your opponent's deck 3 times rather than just 2. And then each time a set of 2 cards mills a climax, you get to burn 2 damage to your opponent. There it is. Okay, and we will see
that is the game.
In time troubles, the game here from Ryoshin. What a nail biter here! You could tell these players they had to go at the end of that game, but some pretty heads up decision making I think from Ryoshin for not using that Mai, not using that Mai to attack. But as you said, with only 1 climax left in deck, so I think he really just needed to, since he recognized that the opponent's level 3 Ninos were going to be living that turn. I think he recognized that 1 climax might make the difference between living and dying on that turn, and decided it wasn't worth getting 1 more stock, 1 more attack, at the risk of losing that last climax in the deck.
Yeah, and I think also it might have been a time consideration because clearing the Ninos is like more of a longer term investment, I think. Because you might not have enough stock to do your entire combo. I didn't completely see how much stock he ended up gathering.
So at that last turn, Ryoshin,
he had like 9.
He had at least 7 because you need 7 in order to do triple combo. You have to play the 3 for 6 stock, and then you need 1 left over because it's an on-attack ability that pays 1. So he had at least 7 even without attacking with the Mai.
Yeah.
And then I think that on the follow-up turn, it still would have been potentially possible to get that 4th memory and go for like double Mai if you had gone for like the double 2 ones on the previous turn.
Yeah, but it would only be double Mai and not triple Mai, which might have been relevant for finishing the game in time.
Yeah, actually, considering how much time these Mais take to process. You have to like pick up your deck, flip cards, check, like take more damage, flip more cards. So
and also depends on your opponents, how fast they will flip their cards.
Right, and we did see some pretty fast flipping at the end there. Okay, so that is going to do it for our first game. We are going to be doing quick interviews with each of our winning players at the end of each round. So we will see you guys back with that in just a moment. And we'll catch you back for more BCS 24-25 World Finals action. And
we'll see you back after a break.
All right, see you in a bit.
See you.